Hi everyone, my name is Harley and welcome to TransByDef. This week's topic is do-it-yourself transitioning. There are many types of do-it-yourself or transitioning. Some of the few I kind of see is mainly self-medication with hormones. Another one is castration, do-it-yourself castration, and do-it-yourself silicone injections. There are many reasons why transgenders go ahead and do-it-yourself procedures. Mainly some people are trying to save money because, going to a professional versus doing it yourself might be cheaper. Another time is time actually can be a factor. Some people don't want to go through that procedure and they'll, the proper procedures to get it done, and it's just time and they want to just do it yourself, Another main thing, and this is one that I was suffering from, was fear. Fear of coming out, afraid to tell people when I'm transitioning, or I'm not sure to come out, and so therefore I self-medicated in the beginning. First of all, I wanted to see if I was transgender just to do it yourself, but I was afraid to come out. I was afraid to take the proper procedures, to go ahead and go through a therapist first and then work it that way. I was afraid. And that's mainly why I started to do-it-yourself transitioning. And actually, now that I have done it myself transitioning, I realized that I actually have more of an opposing position with do-it-yourself, and the reason is for health. When I did the do-it-yourself transition, I ran into some some problems with proper dosage, because you start hearing, you're like, oh, you're asking people what dosage you're on, wink wink nudge nudge, you look about same as me, my size, my height. And then you're like, oh yeah, I do this. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then you're like asking people, you're trying to get a good sample. But, that's bullshit. That is the most ignorant thing to do, because the reason is because everyone's different. Your metabolism is different. Everything is different. It's your reaction to hormones are different. Let me kind of go into more with other things too, but it really goes to health. And the thing is, let's say castration and silicone injections. I don't know too much about silicone injections, but that is risky. Things can go wrong. You could be putting things into your blood system that can end up create a toxin in you. Do-it-yourself castrations. I've actually looked up research in the past before I transitioned, because I thought about doing that. There was a lot of times I looked up how to do it, and there are really interesting ways of doing it, but there are a lot of risk factors. I mean, it's just super risky. I mean, you can die with some of these things, a slip up or something doesn't go right, you're fucked, And the reason why I say that is because some of them are you get this clipper and it clips the cords for the testes, and they're supposed to go up. However, if it doesn't clip it right, you can bleed to death, and things like that. So another thing is the rubber band trick, which is this super super tight rubber band. It's mainly for steer, to castrate, euthanize the bull to steer. And I've read some people did this as well, but it just really, I read stories, don't know if they're true, but it's things you do that, and what's supposed to happen is your testes are supposed to die and fall off. Now the problem with that is, if anything happens where that dead blood goes back into your system somehow, you die. I mean, you get blood poisoning, really. You really pretty much die, from it. So it's ridiculous risky. Some other people do injections, or they take some kind of substance and inject it, and oh my god, please don't do that. That's just you really, for that type of situation, for castration or for like orchiectomy, you really have to get a professional to do that. I mean, there's really no other way. I know you want to save money, but have a professional do that. It is too risky. You most likely, you may know some people that, oh yeah, it worked for them, but it's just too risky. And my philosophy is Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Not trying to jinx it. I'm just trying to say that's usually what happens. So you want to kind of have everything prepared for yourself, and have a professional. Self-medication is a big one, because this one, a lot of people end up kind of going into this, and I've done it myself. Like I said, I kind of overdosed on Spyro, and it wasn't by much. I mean, most people that took it that were double the doses I take. And when I actually went a little bit above, I was overdosing, and I didn't notice it until a few days into it. I'm like, I don't feel good, and like I had a really bad time. Let me just tell you that. But the other thing is, what I like to say is, unless you're really well educated in medicine, you really shouldn't do anything of the do-it-yourselves, because it's just, oh my gosh, anything can go wrong, people. The other thing is, routine blood work is very good to do. So if you are happen to do it yourself, at least get the routine blood work going, because understanding what levels of estradiol, or of estrogen and testosterone you need, will help you balance the hormones. Or is supposed to, professionally is supposed to keep you on a proper balance of hormones, because as you're progressing, you might change. So routine checks are very vital. Also, functionality of organs. There are a few tests on the blood work that are supposed to test your organ functionality, make sure they're not failing, because obviously you're not going to know if your liver isn't working well, because all of a sudden you start turning yellow and you're not really, you don't realize it, and then you're like, I don't feel good, and you're dying, really, so it's really important to know that, because estrogen takes a really hit on your liver. And the thing is, it's like, I drink alcohol sometimes, and I was told to lower my consumption about it. So because my estrogen and my estrogen really hits my liver a lot, because I'm really on a high dosage of estrogen, and I drink, so it's like it really hits me, and I was told to lower my consumption about that. The other thing is, unfortunately, some people are not allowed to take hormones because of functionality with organs, doesn't respond too well, they're allergic or something, and that can happen. And I feel really I kind of was told this before, which was, if you smoke and you because I kind of smoke sometimes, and my doctor was like, well, if you get a blood clot, you can say goodbye to hormones. And I was like, I just couldn't stop thinking. I was like, oh my God. It just really took a shock to me, because I was like, damn, I never really thought about that, and getting a blood clot is very easy with male to female transgenders. So you have to understand that you never know when you get a blood clot. It just happens. And so, I've heard that sometimes you can get a blood clot in your lungs, and that's really something to be worried about, because that's where you have to go to the hospital, and you have to tell them, this, like, symptoms, shortness of breath, things like that, and I'm on estrogen, and then they have to immediately, like, react to it, because it's a blood clot in your lung, and it's like, it's crap, I'm not trying to scare people here, but it's really the reality of it. Another thing to do, another thing with the do-it-yourself that people tend to forget is physicals. Because you're so overwhelmed with the do-it-yourself, you don't want to get a physical, because, hey, if you're doing it to yourself, there might be a reason why you don't want to go to a professional in the first place. So, the thing I gotta say is, with male to females, it's good to get a physical, especially with your breasts, because they're growing, and there could be something that happens with it. And unfortunately, I have not gone to a physical for the past like years that I transitioned until a couple weeks ago. And with that, you know, with that, I had pain in my breast, you know, and it was in this one particular area. And eventually I thought it would just go away, but it never really went away. And so, you know, the doctor gave me a breast examination, but still wanted me to go get a mammogram. And so I went for a mammogram, and like last week, and it hurt like a motherfucker, and it's not supposed to hurt that bad, and it really hurt big time. And it kind of scared me a little bit because, you know, it hurt in the area where it was hurting. And so I hope nothing's there, but, you know, something leading me to believe something is there, because it hurt so bad. I almost passed out because it was pain shooting so bad, and it could have been just pinching a nerve, but it just hurt. And it was like, I mean, so I don't know, I'll find out next week if anything, but it's still good to know these things, because you're doing preventive measures, preventive health. And, you know, when you're doing it yourself, most likely you're not doing preventive care. So it's very important to do these things. I mean, I know money is a big issue. That's a big factor, and it's a big factor. I know. It sucks. It just sucks, but it really has to get. It really should be done the proper way. I know some people will argue against it, but I mean, your health is your health. I mean, it can be good one moment, it could be bad the next moment, and when you introduced hormones and stuff, it really adds to it, like the possibilities of what can happen. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. I will probably talk to you next week. Anyways, take care, everyone. Bye.